Question number one is, has the government made it mandatory for you to download the Aarogya Setu app? And the answer is no, they have not. There's been no order, no legislation, no rules, no regulations. Nothing has been passed by the government saying that anyone has to download the Aarogya Setu app. What about state governments? Have any state governments said that you have to download the app? Again, the answer is no. No state government has passed any sort of statewide order saying everyone there has to download this app. So the Aarogya Setu app is not mandatory according to any government rules at this point of time. What about local government? What about, a district magistrate? And this is, of course, the tricky one, because a district magistrate technically has the power to enforce this whole nationwide lockdown. And some district magistrates have already been passing such orders. The district magistrate of Sant Kabir Nagar in Uttar Pradesh, for instance, has already passed an order saying that anyone who resides in the district who has a smartphone has to download and install the app. The question which follows from this, obviously, is, do local authorities have the power to do this? And this is tricky because on the one hand, you would think that it's only the central governments and the state governments which have the power to do this, because, the central government has powers under the Disaster Management Act. State governments have powers under the Epidemic Diseases Act, which are quite broad and which might allow them to make this app mandatory. But your district magistrate doesn't really have that sort of authority. At the same time, the central government has kind of left the enforcement of the lockdown measures to district magistrates. They are the ones who are empowered to do what is necessary to enforce the lockdown. And if you look at the MHA order, when they extended the lockdown, they had a set of national directives which were given to the DMs. And one of those was encouragement of the use of the Aarogya Setu app. Now, the thing is, they technically had the power to set fines, make it a make penal consequences for failure to do this. So they technically have some powers to say that, people within our jurisdiction have to download the app. But legally, that's a bit questionable, because let's look at the next question, which is, can you actually make it mandatory by law to download the app? And the answer to this comes back to the right to privacy. Now, the right to privacy, as you know, was reaffirmed by the Supreme Court a few years ago. It's something which is part of your fundamental rights. And this kind of data, which the Aarogya Setu app needs, whether it's location, Bluetooth data, things which it needs about your contacts and where you've been and what you've been doing, all of that information is very much protected by the right to privacy. Now, there can be infringements or impingements on your right to privacy as long as they satisfy certain things. First off is that there needs to be some sort of law. It needs to be written. There has to be a written actual document from the government saying that this is, we need to create this restriction. Here is the basis and the authority in law for doing that. And that does not exist at this point for the Aarogya Setu app. The next thing is that even if that were to be there, you'd have to any such law or order or regulation or anything saying that you have to download the app has to satisfy the tests of proportionality and necessity. And if you keep sort of the broad just mandate saying everyone has to download the app, that's not really going to happen, because, it's too overbroad. If you said specifically, places where someone has actually been found to have coronavirus, their family needs to download it, okay, maybe that might be acceptable. But a broad brush sort of thing, just making it mandatory, would not likely stand the legal test. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that people will not try to make it mandatory.